There's a really big trend, Pilates Bod. Girls saying, I want to have a Pilates bod. Pilates is like the cute thing to do. I do Pilates like on days that you and I are not training. Would I have achieved this same body I have now if I was just doing Pilates?
I would say no. No, every Pilates class is different, and you said you're not using reformers, so that could be different. I'll add some caveats. However, the number of clients I've had come to me because they've been doing Pilates and taking classes for years, and the best they get is skinny fat, is astounding.
Real mic drop. Bye. It's Sofia Franklyn. You are listening to Sofia with an F, and the F is for phenomenal. Guys, welcome to Sofia with an F. I'm already screaming. I don't know why, because this particular episode is a long time coming. I am with the most important man in my life right now.
Dang.
Which is my personal trainer, Noah Gannon. Hi, Noah.
Hello.
But I think we should start with how we even ended up working together. So let's take it way back. Because the sloots know me, and they know that I'm not. How would you explain it? I'm not the most disciplined. I'm not the most structured. I'm not the most stick with something kind of gal. And the fact that we have been working out together for how long now?
It's almost 3 years, I think.
Shut up. 3?
Yeah, it's at least 2.5, I want to say.
We're going to say 2.5.
Cool.
I'm going to say 2.5 just because like my booty's going to get even bigger.
There you go.
Noah completely transformed not only like my body, but most importantly, my ass. And then my mental health as well, which we will get into. But basically, I moved back to New York and I was like, all right, let's get my shit together. And I think I should hire a personal trainer because nothing in the past has worked for me. I've done Bikram yoga. I signed up at Lifetime Fitness and would like try to do the classes. Then I would try to do it on my own. And that was when it was really just a big ass joke. And I don't know. I would work out for maybe 1 to 2 weeks tops and then just fall off the map like for months. So I was like, I want to hire a personal trainer. I'm in New York. And I think I like put a post up on my story. And then my cousin, Kat, shout out.
Hero.
She said, Soph, my boyfriend is a personal trainer. Why don't you have him train you? And I was like, okay, so you live in you guys live in
North Carolina. Basically the middle of nowhere.
I was about to say North Virginia, and I have no idea why.
I was going to say North Dakota.
Yeah, North Dakota, whatever. A North something. Also, this is coming from the bitch from Utah, and I'm like talking down to you. But I was like, how is that going to happen? How is he going to train me? And she said that you do virtual sessions. And my reaction to that was, no, thank you. Like, how am I going to, you know what I mean?
Like sick prank cat.
Right. Like how do you do it virtually? B, I want someone in person to be able to see my body and how I'm actually doing these like workouts and positions and whatever. And she was like, listen, like just do like a free session or a consultation or something and see if you like it. I'm going to be honest with you, Noah, like going into that, I was like, okay, sure. Like, okay, free workout. Okay, that's whatever. We'll see how it goes. But I was not on board. I really thought having someone in person was what I needed. So we did our first session and I was blown away just because of how like the ease of it. Like just being able to open up my laptop, get on a Zoom, and have you be like, okay, all I need you to do, and by the way, you don't even need to invest in this, even though I think it's $7, is get some bands, like booty bands. That's not what they're called.
So yeah, there's mini bands, which you can get a set for like $8. And then another optional one would be a set of resistance bands. There's some that are tubes, some that are loops.
Right.
But those are like $20.
So we're looking at $30. And do you know how much a gym membership is in New York?
Ooh, I mean,
disgusting. I know Equinox is like 300 something a month.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to say like the cheaper ones, like New York Sports Club or maybe Crunch, like those are still, I want to say 100 something.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. $30 is pretty good.
Yeah.
And also just being able to do it from home, right? Like I don't like going to the gym because guys do look at your body while you work out. Sometimes hit on you. So I sound so conceited. I'm like, I can't even. This is for any girl, by the way.
Of course.
Like any chick and any man that walks into a gym, you are kind of walking into the watering hole of Africa, and there's all of these different animals that are going to come to you and are going to attack you and kill you. So we did our first session, and I'm going to let you kind of tell them how the first, I don't know, few months, maybe even a year went.
Sure, absolutely. Well, as Sofia mentioned, the whole reason you signed up is because you're someone who lacked structure, of course, because your life has you, on a dime, flying to Miami and California.
I'm leaving for Miami in 45 minutes.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So there's many people who say time is a problem for me, and Sofia is someone who that is very real for. Other people, you check your screen time, and there's like 8 hours on Instagram. But that being said, she has very real excuses and very real limitations.
Right.
So the first few months were basically handling that. And so we'd have scheduled times and something would come up, someone would call, or she'd be pulling an all-nighter to get an episode out for you guys, and then she'd sleep past our appointment. So I'd say we had like probably a 50% success rate for showing up for our appointments for the first easily 6 months.
And 50%, that's, I think we had committed to, in quotation marks, 2 sessions a week. And I was probably showing up 50% of them.
Yes, absolutely.
And that also doesn't even include the amount I would try to move them around.
Yeah.
Right?
It'd be like trying to find 3 different times the same day, and you're like, okay, let's do tomorrow. And then tomorrow wouldn't work. And then it'd be like, okay, we'll show up for the normal time next time.
It was madness. And so you think that went on for how long?
Easily 6 months, up to a year. But I'm really bad at timelines. So
Me too. I could.
That's why I'm very data driven, because like her and I were guessing our timelines, like how long have we been working together? I'm like, I don't know, like 8 months, a year.
Right.
And then I looked at the data in the app and I'm like, I have data that goes back like 2 years. She's like, oh, okay.
So the no concept of time is a big one for me as well. I'm sure you've noticed. Considering the time that I show up to our scheduled sessions. But I think anywhere in between those 6 months to a year, I started to be more consistent. And the reason why is because you told me, I think there was one session I texted you and I was like, my insomnia is crazy. I haven't slept in 2 days. I want to die. There's no way in hell I'm moving my body right now. So I'm just gonna just trauma dump onto you, and whatever you want to take from that, do it. And I remember very vividly you said, well, how about we just join the session like we normally would. If you decide you want to work out, you can. If you decide you want to just sit and talk about it, we can do that as well. Or we can do a mixture of both. And like maybe you can like kind of stretch or like do like some very low impact kind of things while we talk it out. But the big thing being just join the session and let's just chit chat. And I don't even think we ended up working out that day. I think we did just talk it through. And that was such a fucking game changer because then it became this thing where it was like, I can still show up and get a real serious benefit, you know?
Mhm.
And it's not like every single time I show up to the mat, I need to be giving it 150%,
Mhm.
which I was very much in that mentality.
Mhm.
And you also taught me about that too.
Yeah, a big thing, because one of the biggest obstacles for you being successful in the past was an all or nothing mindset. So you're like, well, if I'm not giving 100% and not optimizing, then why am I even here? It's a waste of my time.
Exactly.
But there's two different things to think about that. One, there's a minimum effective dose and a maximum effective dose. So if, yeah, working out 6 times a week for an hour is probably going to maximize your potential, that doesn't mean that working out 2 times a week for 30, 45 minutes isn't going to get you any progress. Also, even if your minimum effective dose is 1 or 2 sessions a week, practicing just showing up at a place at a given time is reducing that barrier to entry to then achieving the minimum effective dose. So even if something isn't quote unquote technically scientifically effective, it's practically effective as a minimum effective dose.
This is why I also refer to Noah as Dr. Gannon because he has a PhD in my brain.
3 PhDs, thank you.
3 PhDs. But I mean, like you went to school for
Exercise science.
okay, exercise science. You're a little bit of a nerd, right? When it comes to that.
I'm pretty obsessive about psychology as well.
Mhm.
And because I would find it so interesting that like most people know what to do for health and fitness. The biggest barrier was getting them to do it or understanding what's keeping them from doing it. So anytime I try to train someone, psychology was inextricably linked.
Right.
And so I found myself working on that anyway.
Right.
And also because I also am a problem child. And so I was trying to solve myself, and that translates well to helping others. So
Well, it fucking showed because you were able to tackle this girl right here, and there were some serious barriers there.
Mhm.
But yeah, to your point, the entry to barrier. Is that how you say it?
Barrier to entry. Another way of putting it, it's kind of a way of a more scientific way of putting like an obstacle. So your obstacle you'd make for yourself is I have to show up and I have to be 100%. And if I'm 10 minutes late, the session's not worth it.
Yep.
If I'm like feeling sick or like tired, it's not worth it. But if that mindset keeps you from showing up to the session, there's no way for you to progress.
Yes.
So if I could get you to just turn on the laptop, that's usually the hardest part. Same thing for people where getting to the gym is the hardest part. So I've had clients practice where I'm like, hey, drive to the gym, walk in if you want, just get in the parking lot at the scheduled time and then go home. If you get there and you're like, I can go in, then go in, but work your way up.
That significantly, majorly just changed the whole thing for me. Because then I got in the habit of, at least I'm opening my laptop, and then I got more in the habit of like, okay, well, I could like lightly exercise while I cry, you know?
Of course.
Which we have had sessions where I'm doing lunges and crying.
Oh, yeah.
With tears coming out of my eyes.
Absolutely. And it's only mostly because of my verbal abuse. But.
Yeah, most. And I wouldn't say it's a verbal abuse. I would say it's the dad joke.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's why I start crying, because I want to fucking lose my Actually, I do love a dad joke. Yeah, actually, who's more verbally abusive, you or I? Because I'm gonna say this girl right here.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Sophia's verbally abusive to herself. Then every once in a while she'll cuss me out, and I'm like, sweet, great. Whatever gets you through the session, that's fine. I've trained people in the military, ex-military, so I've heard it all. Yeah, they're like, this is what I used to say to my drill sergeant, and you're like one step above. And I'm like, cool. But
so what do they tell you? Off?
Oh, I mean, many things I just could never repeat, but
okay, got it.
But yeah, things that whatever gets you guys through the session. But I find I don't have to be very hard on people because you're hard on yourself anyway. Yeah. So it's mostly me just catching you in your thought loops and then cognitively reframing for you.
Do you have a podcast by any chance? Because you're fucking, this is next level shit.
Noah with an H coming out, you know?
Noah with an H. Would you say the majority of people are already so tough on themselves that it's not necessary for you to kind of be that way with them?
So most people tend to know what they need to do. So if I ask someone on the street randomly, like, hey, for you to achieve your health and fitness goals, what do you think you need to do? And most people could tell you, well, I should stop eating donuts and I should cut down on all the soda I'm drinking. Fruits and veggies are great. I'm sure there's something about protein in there and I should move my body, which is like 90% there. It's just a matter of the actual practical steps to get there. Most people, they know what to do, but they self-sabotage themselves out of it. So most of my job is just reminding people. I'm like, hey, here's a list of what it takes for you to see your results. And we're just going to identify and solve obstacles to those. And most people, so many of their obstacles are they're too hard on themselves, or they set too high standards for themselves, or, you know, they can't deal with like the peer pressure of like actually having an honest conversation with family members and friends, being like, hey, this goal is important to me. Like, I'm going to turn down your desserts at like Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Interesting.
So most of the times it's not actually, most people, once they know what to do, like when I get them in a session, getting you to actually do lunges or squats isn't the tough part. Like you're there, you're showing up, you're willing. It's just most people are either, you know, scared of hurting themselves. They don't know what to do. So they spend more time second guessing than actually doing it. It's it's more exhausting to go into a program second guessing yourself the whole time than to have someone who can reassure you and be like, yeah, you're doing it right. You're fine.
Right.
It's just a matter of actually getting the workout done.
I think there was like some self-sabotage, like you said, self-loathing, self-hatred. A lot of transition was happening. I got down to 93 pounds.
That was when we weighed. It might have been worse.
I think it did get worse.
Yeah. And notice the difference in your physique where like now at 103, you're like, dude, I'm looking skinny. Whereas previously, you called it the bobblehead look with Allie.
Oh yeah, the bobblehead.
Yeah, where she was like, a lot of women, they're like, oh, I just need to get as skinny as possible, and that's going to be the look. And they're scared of weightlifting because it'll make them look bulkier. And I would agree, and I think Sofia would agree, and many people who've commented on her physique are like, yo, you look better than ever. She's like, you know, 10, 11 pounds heavier. She's put on a ton of muscle, and she still's like, oh, I feel kind of skinny. I want 3 pounds more. And that's when she feels her best. Her physique looks the greatest. An important thing, and we'll probably go in more in depth later, but a lot of women are concerned about looking bulky, and they're like, I don't want to look like a man. Is weightlifting for me? And they'll just end up going to like a bunch of classes that are basically cardio, or they're basically told eat as little as possible and do as much cardio as possible and don't touch a weight, otherwise you'll look like a man.
I remember doing that.
Oh yeah.
I remember feeling that way when I was younger and being like, ooh, I just got to run outside, and that's like what you got to do.
Well, I feel like it's only in the last like 10, maybe 15 years that weightlifting has really been catered more towards women and like really helped them say like, hey, those physiques you want, it's behind lifting heavy and consistently.
Someone wrote in, does Sofia just have good genes, or is there a way to look like her? Very flattering, Soph. I know my assistant wrote that in. Thank you.
What a champ. Completely anonymous. Didn't pay her off or anything. Yeah.
Low-key, you wrote it in.
That'd be amazing.
That's what I do for bodies, everybody.
Exactly. So first of all, yes, anytime someone says, do you just have good genes? First of all, great compliment. Or the first time someone's like, are you natural? You're like, oh my gosh, thank you. I haven't had that to say, but I've seen other people. I'm like, that seems great. Anyway.
Would you say do I have good genes?
So you were active in high school, right? Middle school. You were in cheer?
Yes. A little soccer, a little lacrosse.
There you go. It's all the soccer, really. Let's be real.
Hey, let's be real.
I have an unbiased opinion about soccer that it's the best thing ever.
We love soccer, by the way. Very Europa of us.
There you go. So that being said, there's a couple points to touch on with that. There's an assumption in the question that I want to touch on later. But first, Sofia could have good genes. However, her activity when she was younger helps a lot. So it's much easier to maintain or to get back what you had versus to build it the first time. So if you built a strong physique or an athletic physique when you were in high school, middle school, it's gonna be much easier for you when you're older to get that back.
And you think I really had that? Like I had that existing?
I haven't seen pictures of you at that time, so I'm not sure, but I know you were in pretty intense cheer, right?
I was in pretty intense cheer and like tumbling specifically. However, I remember I did measure my body mass or my muscle mass, whatever.
Sure. Body fat percentage. Muscle.
Body fat percentage. Cool. Thank you. And it wasn't good. Like the guy was like, yeah, you need to work out. So when I met you, I just remember not having muscle.
Gotcha.
But to your point, maybe it kind of was existing, but it was dormant because I wasn't fucking using it.
So it could have been you had more than the average person in high school because you were active. There's a lot of people that don't do sports, so that already puts you one step above.
Okay.
So you getting back into that, even though after 10 years off, I won't bore you guys with the science of how it's easier to regain muscle than to get it the first time, but that's for another time perhaps. But more importantly, so that's already one leg up. The other thing too is genetics. There's nothing about Sophia that impresses me versus any other transformation of other clients about the speed and the degree of her transformation. There's many things that impress me about her. Let me be clear.
I'm joking. Awesome. It was just funny.
Yeah.
If we like ended
There's nothing about her that impresses me.
If we just ended it right there, it would have been amazing.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I continue.
So there's nothing to me that's crazy about her transformation because if you think about it, it's over the course of 2.5, 3 years. And also we don't even know her full genetic potential because we have been far from optimized.
Yeah.
Right? Nutrition has been hit or miss for a lot of the time. Workouts were consistent recently up until the point 1, maybe 2 times a week.
Yep.
It's only recently it's been like 3 times a week.
Yep.
And again, maximum potential would be like 5, 6 times a week. Not to say everyone needs that. But the important question in there, and I don't think this was Soph's opinion, I think she was just complimenting, but a lot of people say like, oh, their genetics are great. And perhaps genetics can help you and make it more easy.
By the way, Soph didn't actually write in that question.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
I don't think so.
I'm just slow.
I'm second guessing.
Multiple
okay,
people.
Thank you. Multiple people asked
So
us if we
confirmed-
have good genes or
They
they want to know if they have a chance to look like me. Not my words, someone else's.
So confirmed Soph has multiple personalities, first
Yes,
of all.
yes.
Second of all, yes, people can definitely look like her. Because the assumption with a question like that is typically they're looking for an excuse to not look like that or a reason to not start. And here's the thing, even if we know, let's say you're genetically gifted and you're in the top 10th percentile, the person who's asking that question, they don't know whether they have similar genetics to you or not because they've never pushed their potential to what it needs to be.
Yeah.
So you don't know your full potential until, 4 or 5 years weightlifting, 4 or 5 times a week, like really pushing it.
Yeah.
So don't use that as an excuse to not start or not see what you're capable of. And then even then, let's say God himself came down and was like, okay, you're only capable of 90% of what Sophia can achieve. Does that mean you shouldn't start? So to me, that question's kind of a non sequitur.
Yeah.
I think it makes more sense if people start asking like, is someone, natural or not natural, performance enhancing drugs or not? Because then that's a real question of, okay, can I achieve 1/10 of that? Like, is my progress there even reasonable?
Right.
So I think that's one underlying assumption there I'd like to challenge a little.
Okay. I think I was blessed with good genes, sure, but I'm going to talk about my butt. Because like I don't talk about it every episode and every workout session with you.
Of course.
But there's a dad joke in there somewhere.
I heard the butt.
I was waiting.
I resisted.
I was waiting.
I'd hate to have you be the butt of the joke, but
okay, bye.
All right.
This is what Noah has to do while he's training me to keep me distracted so I don't just like freak out and say like, hey, I'm done working out.
Absolutely.
The way that my butt was shaped, as you guys know, was kind of saggy diaper, had really zero muscle, had no shape to it, was kind of long, flat, and basically that. And I mean, Allie, I'm about to just like bring Allie up. Allie genetically has like a bubble butt, like more toned, whatever. The reason I bring that up is to say, and also to show, I didn't think that my butt could really change, I knew if I put in like years of hard work and all this shit, like I could probably make it look a teeny bit better. I didn't realize like you can completely transform your body, whatever genes you're working with. Am I allowed to say that?
Absolutely. Well, and even if, let's say, you're not a genetically gifted person, think about how many fields and how many areas. Usually the people that are the most gifted in an area and they're known for something are the people who struggled with it the most. So if you see someone who touches a weight and like their biceps are double in size or their butt like triples in size, you don't want to get advice from them because it came naturally. You want it from the people who are like, dude, my butt looked like this and look at it now.
Right.
So for instance, I showed you that textbook I ordered, the Glute Lab.
I want that textbook so fucking bad.
It's available on Amazon. I'm not sponsored. I don't get any referral bonuses, but
Shit.
it's like a 600 page book that I got recently of just training glutes. And it's by Brett Contreras. And in the opening like monologue introduction, he talks about how he was made fun of for having no butt. Like they joked that he just had a back that continued all the way down to his ankles.
Okay. I
And-
wonder if it was similar to mine.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
And so from that, he obsessively is like, well, now I need to figure out how to train it. And now his butt is like phenomenal. And he trains, like he specializes in bikini competitors, getting their butts amazing.
And didn't he also pioneer the hip thrust?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
So
remember you telling me
that's
that.
how far back this guy goes and how much professional is, how dedicated he was to it. They completely revolutionized it. So someone who is known for being the person with the least butt ever. The least butt ever. The least developed butt ever.
I like that. I actually like that. The least butt ever.
Least butt ever. Turned into someone who, that's the person that you can trust their information because they came from the greatest deficit to achieve the results they're looking for.
Damn. We gotta show a before and after of his. For sure.
For sure. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. But mostly his competitors are insane too. Because most people say like, oh, I don't have a butt. I'll never have a butt. And then like literally the first page of his book, he knows what he's doing is before and afters. And so many of them are like, it's like an inverted butt basically. And then their picture for their like actual like when they're doing their show. Oh my gosh, it's insane.
So someone with an inverted butt can get like a nice peach apple bottom booty.
Yes, there would be a very, very small percentage. I'm sure there's people who might not have the best. It might not look like a BBL for everyone, but you can see way more potential than you can. And even if you can't, you don't know what you can achieve until you do it.
Right.
So you might as well.
Right. I have a hard time believing that the majority of people listening to this would not be able to see significant fucking changes in their body. Someone wrote in, how bad is Sophia's attitude when training?
So it depends on what you mean by bad, right? Because Sophia says all the time, she'll be like, oh, you must get sick and tired of me like whining and complaining. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're venting. And also you get through the workout. So I don't care what you do in here so long as you do what is required for you to see results. So that's perfectly fine. If someone whines and complains and doesn't do anything, that's where it's kind of a bummer attitude.
Thank you. Keep going.
Also, it's entertaining. So honestly, someone who's just like completely stoic, stone-faced, no expressions through the whole workout, that's kind of boring, kind of sad. And the whole time, like, do they hate me? Do they like what's going on?
Also, how can you be doing a workout and like be silent and like straight faced?
Oh, surprised. I trained a couple lawyers and I'm like, at the end, I'm like, I can't tell if you could do 20 more or 2 more. So I need you to tell me. And they're like, oh, I'm dying. Like perfectly straight faced. I'm like, okay. So actually, I prefer the more like people who show it all. And you screaming, like she'll clip the audio on the Zoom call because her screams go so high pitched. It's wonderful.
I will literally blow your headphones out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I definitely am complaining the whole time. Like I'm saying, like on the 18th rep, I'll be like, Noah, no. Nope, not doing it.
Absolutely
like,
not.
I will do it the whole time.
But you say no, and then you do 3 more.
Right.
And that's what makes it different. So you actually have a good attitude in practice. It's just the way you verbalize your discomfort and the way you cope with it. That's what I do. Like when I'm up all night, I'll just be like, you know, singing songs about like killing myself the whole time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's, you know, and you're also the one that showed me Bill Burnham or Bo Burnham.
Oh yeah.
And his issues with like anxiety attacks and how he just talks about like, I'm up on stage and I want to fucking die. Like that's how we deal with our shit.
Oh yeah.
And I'm basically the whole time I'm training, I'm like, I'm not doing anymore. I'm not really going to work out today, but like we can pretend I am. But then I physically am actually doing what you tell me to do.
Yeah. And you can even play games with yourself where you're like, even if you know consciously, you're like, I'll just do 1 set of lunges. And if you give yourself permission, be like, I'll stop after 1 set if I really want to. And then 9 times out of 10, you're like, I got here. Noah's here. Am I really going to like 5 minutes in just like puss out? Like, no.
Yeah. And because you have allowed for sessions for me to not go fucking 100 out of 100, it's made me feel less anxiety to get on the fucking Zoom call and get started with you. But I'll be real, to this day, I still get like a little tinge of, I don't know if it's anxiety or a tinge of just dread, but I think that's normal because that's how I grew up with my perspective of working out, you know? Thoughts on caffeine? And what's the healthiest option?
Healthiest option. So I'm a little bit more extreme than most people. I just don't consume caffeine. I think I've had caffeine like once in the last year, just because I don't like to be dependent on it. Most sources are pretty expensive. And I tend to get jittery and I don't like the taste of coffee. So that rules out a lot of the options too.
Okay.
However, that's not what I'm recommending for everyone else. You can be perfectly fine without it. However, if I really need it now, it's really effective. If, I have
Right.
1.5 hours of sleep, I actually didn't have caffeine, but I could have if I really needed it.
So you went to the coffee shop this morning and you did not get coffee after sleeping 1.5 hours.
So no, not at all. I hate the smell and taste of coffee. And also it's funny that like I was in there like waiting for Sophia to be ready and I'm like, do. And then I saw a note on one of the tables next to me. It's like, after purchase, you can stay here 2 hours. And I'm like, shoot. So like, let's see. And like, she walks over, she's like, do you need anything? And I know she's really just politely asking, buy something or get out. So I'm like, okay. So I buy like a pastry or something because I just don't want a coffee.
Right,
And 2 seconds later, Sophia's like, all right, I'm ready. And I'm like, cool. That being said,
Yes.
caffeine has been demonstrated to be a effective pre-workout. So when they administer caffeine at a minimum effective dose, usually it's about 2 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. That's the lowest they've seen. Usually it's 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. If for people in America like me, divide your weight by 2.2, and that's your weight in kilograms about. So then you multiply that by about 3, and that would be your minimum effective dose.
Oh, shit. So
Yeah.
there's a minimum effective dose of caffeine?
On average. So here's the thing with any study, right? And it's a cool thing. It's how the science works. But think of it this way. If you get a study that says, hey, that amount of caffeine is 30% effective, you see 30% increased results. What might have happened is 70% of their subjects saw a 40% increase, 20% saw like a 0% increase, and 10% they performed worse.
Right.
So play with yourself, or play with it yourself so that
Yeah, play with your do both. Play with
Absolutely.
yourself or just play with the caffeine itself and see what works out for you.
So it's a good place to start. But from there, like if you're really shaky from like 150 milligrams, then maybe start with like 50, 75 and see where you go from there. But most pre-workouts really are just caffeine with flavoring. So if you want to get something cheaper, you could just have like coffee.
Oh my God. I remember you telling me that and I was so taken aback. I was like, what do you mean? Pre-workout has like this crazy thing to it that makes it way stronger than caffeine and makes my skin feel like it's burning. So it must be working, but really it's just high doses of caffeine.
So yeah, because that'll increase blood flow. That's one of the things from caffeine. And so you'll feel like almost like pins and needles on your skin.
Yeah.
So there is some other ones. So like, let's say you want to work out late at night. You don't want to have caffeine ideally past noon, ideally earlier than that. You want to cut it off. So if you're working at like 6 p.m., you don't want to have caffeine like at 5.
Right.
So there are some that don't have caffeine. Just search caffeine-free pre-workout and that'll be effective. They'll have ingredients like, beta-alanine, citrulline malate. But what those will do is they're vasodilators. So similar thing, they'll increase blood flow. You'll still have that like kind of pins and needles feeling, but it'll reduce fatigue, increase output, stuff like that.
Wow. So there's like a pre-workout sans the caffeine. With
Exactly.
No caffeine.
So those are the ones that I'm like, those make a lot of sense to me. The other ones, it's usually just 250 milligrams of caffeine.
That is like, I mean, I didn't even know. I just was under the assumption you go to Starbucks, you get the iced coffee and you drink the whole thing and the jitters and the shakes and the come down are just part of it. Thoughts on supplements?
Supplements. So I was very clear with my scope of practice. Technically, I cannot recommend personally like, hey, you, Sophia, take this supplement. What I can say is like list out the benefits and like help you decide type of thing. So I'm always clear with that from a trainer perspective. I don't like to overstep my scope of practice. But that being said, the cheapest and most effective supplement that works is creatine monohydrate.
And what does it do?
So basically what it is, there's actually recently I saw something that it might even have some benefits for cognition, which is interesting. But basically how it works is, this is very oversimplified, but it causes you to retain extra water, so it pulls extra water into the muscle bellies. And the idea is that with that water, extra nutrients come in. So A, your muscles will look and feel more full, and then B, they're able to produce more strength output and recover more quickly. So you'll find a little bit less instances of soreness, small or better increases for gains over time, increased muscle mass. I'm trying to remember the exact number. Hopefully the editor can add something here if I send you the right number. But when they had people supplementing 5 grams of creatine monohydrate a day, which is all you need, for a year, they had I think it was 2.5 pounds of muscle mass extra that they added. It might have been 5 because I couldn't remember if it was kilograms or pounds, but it's somewhere between 2.5 to 4 or 5 pounds.
So I should be taking the supplement.
You can be taking it.
You probably told me to take it, right?
I haven't told you to take it because I always want to be clear about my scope of practice with that. But
suggestion.
I mention it as one of the cheapest, most well-researched supplements out there, and it is effective. You don't need supplements. I always want to be very clear because people tend to overcomplicate it. I want to give people the minimum things they need to do to see results. And then if they want to add stuff on top of it, they can. Because I don't want people to think, oh, well, if I don't have creatine and I don't take protein powder and I don't anything else, like I'm not going to see results. Let me be very clear. You can see great results. I only started taking it in the last year because I'm like, oh yeah.
I mean, I would say I'm a great example of that because I don't take the creatine, and the protein/protein powder has been an issue for us. Would you say?
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I have not reached my max potential. And I would say the protein portion is a big part of it.
Which is a good transition for a lot of people will call protein powder a supplement. Last thing before I forget, actually. So when you're taking creatine, just make sure you're staying very well hydrated. Half your body weight in ounces of water is a really good place to be.
Okay.
Moving on to the protein powder. Protein powder, they call it a supplement. I think that's a bit extreme, but I think it's categorically correct because it shouldn't be where the majority of your protein comes from. It is a supplement.
Yeah.
So it is perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. You can get many with clean ingredients for pretty dang cheap. The things to look out for would be the ones that are just loaded with a ton of extra stuff, like, insane amounts of sugar and extra calories. So lower calorie dense, lower protein, fewer ingredients is a good rule of thumb. However, don't think that you can just take 4 protein shakes and be good for the day, because if you don't have the whole foods, you'll be missing a ton of micronutrients and other things that come along with those.
Right. And I'm assuming your body, if it's just protein powder, it's just not going to have the same effect as real protein from real foods.
So it'll have a similar effect. So actually, in terms of quality of protein powders are insanely effective.
Oh.
It's 99th, 100th percentile.
Okay.
So there's different qualities of protein, meaning basically there's different amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. And you want all of them in... and there's extra important ones like leucine, for example. And so there are lower quality protein sources, meaning ones that have fewer amino acids.
What's your favorite one?
My favorite protein source? I don't know. Protein pancakes right now are pretty great.
Okay, but and we can bleep the name because no free advertisement. But what's your protein powder you would suggest?
Optimum Nutrition Gold Standard Whey. It's a very long name, but it's been in the business for forever. Third-party tested, pretty dang cheap, high quality, tastes good, mixes well. I've been using that since middle school. I
think people are gonna really like that. And what about? Do you know the creatine brand off the top of your head? We can list it.
Yeah, I just honestly search off Amazon. Just make sure it is creatine monohydrate and 1 serving is 5 grams.
That's funny because you got me on that mass gainer peanut butter chocolate protein powder that 4 scoops is 1,260 calories. However, you did tell me, Sophia, just do 1 to 2 scoops and get the rest of your protein from food.
So this is a great example of don't let perfection get in the way of progress. So for most people, the struggle is to consuming too many calories.
Yep.
So would I give offer recommended mass gainer to many clients? No, because most people struggle to consume too many calories or too few calories. You struggle to consume enough calories. So this is very atypical. So
you know what I wanted to bring up is I haven't had alcohol in a week, and
let's go.
Woo! That's gonna change tonight the second I land in Miami.
Sad.
But the weight that has fallen off, particularly around my midsection, is crazy. It's so weird. I think alcohol, for whatever reason, it just gains in that area more so.
So it'll cause a lot more bloating and water retention.
Yeah.
And so you'll find that that's the most pronounced in the midsection. Because the first place you'll see a difference in your muscle definition will be your abs. In the same
Yeah.
way that if you were to put on fat, the first place you'd see it disappear would be your abs. Because that's the last thing to be revealed and the way down body fat
Right.
percentage wise. So yeah, there's many people that you bet have days where you're like, no, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, have I lost everything?
Right.
And then you like sobered up for 3 days and you're like, oh, I look great.
I know. And you probably have like clients who get on the scale. My mom does this shit. Get on the scale every day, sometimes multiple times a day. And if I so much as have a sip of water when I'm going to do like a weigh-in, which I do a weigh-in, I don't know, once every 2 months, probably.
About, yeah.
You will be like, okay, well, we'll wait till tomorrow because it can affect the scale so fucking much. But have we even explained to people what kind of training you and I do?
I guess that was implied. We do resistance training, which is a category of weightlifting that includes body weight exercises, bands, dumbbells, all that fun stuff. So when people think of weightlifting, what they usually mean is resistance training.
Okay.
So the reason I say that is because when people say weightlifting, they think they need to go to the gym. They think they need to be, under like a squat rack or lifting dumbbells in particular. But no, it is a controlled movement of a given muscle group with resistance that you are overcoming, which causes progressive overload. So basically your muscles like, oh my gosh, we need to get stronger because that was pretty dang tough. So week to week, you'll build muscle and strength.
There's a really big trend. Pilates Bod. Girls saying, I want to have a Pilates Bod. Pilates is like the cute thing to do. I do Pilates like on days that you and I are not training. For 5 to 10 minutes off a YouTube video.
Sure, yeah.
But I don't use like a reformer. I'm not like a Pilates girl, by the way. I felt like I needed to clarify that. Would I have achieved this same body I have now if I was just doing Pilates?
I would say no. No, every Pilates class is different, and you said you're not using reformers, so that could be different. I'll add some caveats. However, the number of clients I've had come to me because they've been doing Pilates and taking classes for years, and the best they get is skinny fat, is astounding.
Real mic drop. Bye.
Because so many of them, again, it's just move as much as possible, eat as little as possible. What that's going to do is going to cause you to lose body fat, sure, but lose muscle mass or not even build muscle mass. So the weightlifting resistance training is what's going to give you that physique you're wanting, the shape, the curves. You're going to look fit instead of malnourished. Because a lot of times they're like, oh, I look fat, I look fat, I look fat. And then the second they get to like the lowest level they can weight-wise, they're like, oh, I just look skinny.
Right.
I don't look fit. I don't have a butt. So that being said, my understanding for a lot of Pilates classes from people I've heard about, it's moving very quickly. It's very lightweight, a lot of repetitions. Now, for someone first starting out, yes, that might be enough for you to hit muscular failure. For most people, it's probably not the case. Anything 5 to 50 reps, if you're hitting muscular failure, meaning, let's say I'm doing a bicep curl with a gun to my head, I could only, with a gun to my head, I could only do 0 to 1 more, maybe 2 more. That's what's going to achieve muscular failure or enough that you're going to actually build muscle. So if you're doing 3-pound dumbbells and you can curl here for like 5 minutes straight, that's not going to be enough. That's just going to be you're going to feel a burn.
Right.
But that's actually not properly correlated with muscle growth. That could be another topic. But you're going to feel a burn. Your heart rate's going to be high. You're going to burn calories, but you're not going to be building muscle like you would if you're doing resistance training. Not to say Pilates is bad. Burning calories is good. But the weightlifting is something that can't be replaced with cardio.
Now that I'm thinking about it, all of the Pilates Bod girls that I see on Instagram and follow or like use their apps have generally always been skinny. Like even before they started Pilates. And I'm pointing that out because I feel like, yes, you are going to be more likely to, I don't know, see some kind of result if you're already in the skinny realm. Right? I mean, okay. Will Pilates sculpt your body? Will it tone you up?
So if, especially with the reformers, you're doing enough that you're achieving muscular failure. So let me put it this way. Could you do, anytime you stop a set, could you do more than 2 reps more of that exercise? So when you move on to the next exercise, could you think with a gun to your head, could you do 2 more reps? If so, you're not that close to muscular failure. The other thing is what gives out first, your breathing or your muscle? So a lot of people, if they're doing a class like that that's really fast paced, they're just trying to catch their breath, and that's what's limiting them from continuing, rather than, oh my gosh, like I can't straighten my leg anymore. I can't do another squat.
Right.
So it can have an effect on that, and especially beginners who've never weightlifted before, they might not have the strength. They might have such a little strength that might be enough for them. Or the reformers could be very difficult if you add enough resistance to it. Again, I haven't done a Pilates class, but it's all about, if the more you move towards cardio, the less you're optimizing towards the weightlifting, resistance training, muscle building realm, which is fine because some people want a runner's body, a Pilates body skinnier. But if you want a separation between your delts and your biceps and triceps, if you want arms to look toned, if you want
back to
a
be
good
toned.
butt, if you want your back to be toned, that's going to be a significant portion of resistance training and a healthy body fat percentage. Because what I think, there's a mixture between a skinny look, which some people just like, or toned has been a term that's been thrown around forever. And basically all it means is you have muscle and you are at a healthy body fat percentage.
Right.
So there's many different ways to get there.
Yeah.
So a Pilates body is just a rebranded way of saying you'll get toned. And if the reformer is challenging enough, you'll get there.
Honestly, how much of just the exercise classes and exercise terms and these things that come through, that it is literally just branding. It is literally just marketing.
Yeah, like 98%, I'd say.
Like 98%. And there's always a new thing. And I remember like Orange Theory, and I remember like and it's like we're all kind of doing the same shit, like with the same goal in a way.
Sure, similar. And there's a somewhat net positive there where whatever it takes to get people moving, I'm all for it. I just, as long as it's scientifically sound and they're honest with the people of what to expect, that's what I like.
Yeah.
So like Orange Theory, correct me if I'm wrong, but the people I've trained who used to go to Orange Theory would tell me like, oh, they push for that certain heart rate, the orange heart rate zone, which is basically a high heart rate. They describe it as HIIT training, so interval training, and you'll burn a ton of extra calories for the next 24 hours because you're doing intervals. But that's not true. There is an effect in the body when you recover from exercise where you burn more calories after, called EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. So basically, to get back to baseline, your body has to recover from the exercise, so it'll burn extra calories as it replenishes glycogen stores, all the other fun stuff, repairs muscle tissue, all that stuff. But it's only about 15% of the total calories burned in the workout. It's not hundreds of calories.
Got it.
So if you're burning 100 calories in a workout, there you go, an extra 15 calories.
So I think you basically already answered this, but like, can you give them in like a sentence or less an extremely general workout plan? Most people want to strengthen glutes, so let's have that be the focus.
And extremely general. So there will be caveats, but if I could put it as general as I can, try to weightlift at least 2 times a week. Any more than that is a bonus, but 2 times a week is plenty. 1 time a week, if you're a newbie, you will still see results. Wow. So resistance training, weightlifting, it could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, perfectly fine. For health-wise, 150 minutes of cardio is what's recommended. Whatever you enjoy. If it doesn't hurt you and you enjoy it, that's perfectly fine. Don't overcomplicate complicate the cardio. To see results in terms of more definition in your body and more muscle mass, be in a calorie deficit, hit your protein.
Okay.
As far as workouts, depending on how many days a week you work, will adjust how you structure your program. So for instance, each body part you want to hit 2 times a week minimum. More than that is a discussion to be had, but it seems to be neutral or positive. To hit it more than 2 times a week is definitely good. More than that might be beneficial. Okay. So if you're working out once a week, you're going to want to hit your whole body. Twice a week, whole body. 3 times a week, you might be able to do like upper, lower. But if do you want to talk about like specific exercises or just like a general guideline?
No, I think general, and I think that answered it. And I think we should talk about the emotional element of training.
Love it.
And the mental health aspect. Because I went into it trying to get my ass fat and trying to be hot. I'm like being for real. And I knew that there had been studies done that show that it helps impact your mood.
One important thing to note about what you described there, where you said, I know the studies, I know the data, that's whatever. I find there's a profound difference between knowledge and wisdom, or basically practical, factual knowledge and experiential knowledge. So we talked about it all the time. We're like, I know I'll feel better. You even asked me during all the workouts, you're like, will I feel better after this? Like all the studies show and they recommend it. But what really made it powerful is you can tell people all the time, you can say it as much as you want, but until they experience it where they're like, whoa, I felt better after that workout.
Yeah.
And when you pay attention and when you're in the workout and you're actually mindful and present for it, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's usually what you build up in your mind and that's what you associate with it. But then once you're paying attention and you experience it, you're like, whoa, because you said to me all the time, you're like, I want to be that person who looks forward to working out.
Yeah.
And like when your schedule's getting crazy, that's the reason we went 3 times a week, because you noticed you're like, I feel worse when I don't work out. I miss working out.
Which is coming out of my mouth is insane.
Mm-hmm.
But I now, if I go more than 2-3 days without moving my body, I get depressed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it's not you being a different person. You just had a new experience that cognitively reframed working out for you.
Yep. This was, so many people wrote this in.
Mm-hmm.
Self-love while getting healthy. Specifically, a lot of people asked about how to have a healthy relationship with food.
So the first thing that's important to note is that I feel like some people put the cart before the horse, where they say, if you want to change, you don't love yourself. So they're like, the health at every size movement, I think comes from a good premise, which is you should love yourself before you get to the goal, which is huge. Like everyone has intrinsic value. It's not what you look like that determines that. You as a person have worth.
That's so good.
One of the things I heard someone say, I think it was Greg Doucette actually, he said, love yourself enough to make the change. So you feel better when you work out. You might have started because you're like, oh, I hate this about me. I want to change this about me. But it becomes an act of self-love where you notice you feel better and it's a reward in and of itself.
Yeah.
So reframing the goal to, okay, what is going to help me live according to my values and a life that I'm going to enjoy? And what is going to help me do that? So most people, when they have energy and they're strong and they're not going to hurt themselves picking up their luggage going to the airport, that's typically going to be better for them to achieve their goals in life.
Right.
So as far as food goes, you're not starving yourself because you hate yourself. You are fueling your body. A couple things. Any eating disorders, obviously there will be different treatments for like anorexia. You're going to treat much different than like bulimia or like binge eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So seek professional help, please. That's huge. More people have that than you know.
Yeah.
Body dysmorphia is a huge thing too. And actually in like 3 years, they're expecting men to catch up to women in rates of body dysmorphia.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Absolutely. But that's, again, for another time. So the biggest thing, several things. For a good relationship with food, think about how much you can add, now how much you can subtract. So don't think about, oh, I need to remove all these things from my diet. Because if you don't know what to do, you're going to not know where to go. So if you're just like, okay, I can't eat all these things I've been eating for my entire life, I don't know what to eat now. You're just going to go back to what you've known your entire life.
Right.
So instead of thinking about, okay, how much fruits and vegetables can I add? How much protein can I add? And how much water can I add? So add as much as you can. You'll find it makes it far easier to stay within your calorie goal. The other thing is to lose weight at a healthy rate. So it's not about losing weight as fast as humanly possible, because number one, you're going to lose a lot more muscle mass with it too. And number two, it's not sustainable. In the entire history of Biggest Loser, there's been one person who kept the weight off.
Wow.
Think about how many seasons that is. So 1% of your body weight per week. And that's typically going to be a lot more calories than you think. So it's not about getting as low as you can. It's about what will help me to lose between 1 and 2 pounds a week, depending on your body weight. So doing it at a good pace for the right reasons and by finding food that you enjoy, that's the name of the game. So like I enjoy my food. I don't have to log my food anymore because I just found recipes that fit within my goals that taste delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. And having kind of like those go-to meals has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say a lot. We've got some time to go, but Noah, you are a wealth of knowledge. You have helped shape my body, obviously, but you have helped me emotionally so much, like really, really, really. And I thank you for that. And where can they find you?
Thank you. First of all, that means the world. Thank you so very much. And the people who always talk about I'm the most difficult client are the ones that have the most potential for the greatest transformation. So that's my favorite, to see that turnaround. So in honor and humbling, they can find me at my website, noahgannonfitness.com, or Instagram, Noah_Gannon7. I'm trying to get much better at social media. I didn't post it. I've never posted till like 3 months ago. And then YouTube as well. It should just be Noah Gannon, I believe.
But also, it's like, I am here to tell everyone I can be your social media presence. And I will post a picture because it's just been completely transformative. And I feel like there's so much more we can talk on next time. But Noah, thank you so much. I'm going to go catch this flight that I'm about to miss.
Of course.
And with that, Sloots, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.